Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Rohrig. Hello, everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today we are going to be doing something a little interesting. So we do this segment occasionally called the Baba Yaga Effect. We did this with every John Wick movie, where we have a John Wick movie, but then we pair it up with like another movie that's kind of, that John Wick kind of inspired, or the other movie kind of falls into that same lore style, stunt style movie that like a John Wick movie falls into. And we pair up like a movie with one of the John Wick movies and do it. We even did it with the spin-off Ballerina, where we paired that up with like another kind of John Wick inspired kind of movie. This time though, we decided that we were going to look at the sequels to two of the movies that we have previously covered in this way. Two of the non-John Wick movies that we've covered in this way. And so we're calling this the Baba Yaga follow-up. That's going to be our main topic for full spoilers. And we are going to be talking about Sisu, Road to Revenge. That's the sequel to Sisu, obviously. And we are going to be talking about Nobody 2, which is the sequel to Nobody, which is the one that stars Bob Odenkirk. So that's the two movies we're going to be discussing in full spoilers. Besides that, we've also got an on-beat segment where we've got 4 news stories and 3 trailers. Well, kind of 4 trailers, but it fits into one of the news stories that we're going to go over. And then we've, of course, got our On the Horizon segment where we talk about what's coming up in the next week or so. And that's where we're going to start with our On the Horizon segment. On the horizon. We're going to kick things off this time with Fist of the North Star, which is getting a remake anime series on Saturday, April 11th on Amazon Prime. I had no idea this was going to happen. So to me, I don't know. Have you seen Fist of the North Star? Have you seen like the movie or any of the series or anything?
I have not watched any of it. I am aware of it through like memes.
The cultural zeitgeist, yeah.
Yeah, but like I've never actually sat down and watched it.
Fist of the North Star was my first like real anime. And by real anime, I mean like not Voltron, not Robotech, you know? but something I actually watched knowing this is a Japanese animation that's different than what we would normally see in America kind of thing. So the Fist of the North Star movie, the animated movie, was like my first real anime in that regard.
Oh, okay.
So I'm kind of excited about this. It's pretty dated looking, you know, so it's right for a remake, so that's cool. That's coming on Saturday, April 11th on Amazon Prime. Then we've got The Audacity, which is a new series coming to AMC on Sunday, April 12th. This stars Zach Galifianakis, and it's kind of like a Silicon Valley-based comedy. Very similar to the show Silicon Valley. But this one's got Zach Galifianakis in it. And like I said, Sunday, April 12th, AMC. Euphoria is returning for its third and probably final season on Sunday, April 12th on HBO and HBO Max. Hades 2 is coming to new platforms on Tuesday, April 14th. That means PS5 and Xbox Series X. It was previously released on both Steam and Switch 2. Balls Up, we talked about the trailer for this. This is a movie with Mark Wahlberg and Paul Walter Hauser. It's coming on Wednesday, April 15th to Amazon Prime. Margo's Got Money Troubles. This is the one where it's got a pregnant Elle Fanning, and she starts an OnlyFans page to make money. Nick Offerman plays her dad. Michelle Pfeiffer plays her mom. David E. Kelley is the showrunner for it. It's coming on Wednesday, April 15th to Apple TV+. Mouse PI for Hire. This is like similar to Cuphead in the sense that it's a game that's heavily inspired by the 2D classic Disney animation kind of look, you know, except this one's like a first-person shooter. And it's black and white. This is coming on Thursday, April 16th to PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, and Switch 2. Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream is coming on Thursday, April 16th to Switch, which I believe it doesn't have a Switch 2 edition, but I think it has a free Switch 2 patch or something. I believe so. I think I heard them talking about how it plays on the Switch 2 in portable at 1080p, which would require it to have some kind of patch because a Switch game can't run at 1080p portable. So Beef Season 2, which features Oscar Isaac this time, is coming on Thursday, April 16th on Netflix. Pragmata, which I'm excited for. You're getting this day one, right?
Yeah.
Pragmata, the new big Capcom game. Friday, April 17th to PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, and Switch 2. So excited to have Mega Man back. And then we got some movies coming out on Friday, April 17th as well. We got Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Lee Cronin was the director of Evil Dead Rise. This is like his new original horror film that's like his idea. It's coming on Friday, April 17th to theaters. And Normal, which is like another Bob Odenkirk, John Wick-like, is coming on Friday, April 17th to theaters as well. I'm looking forward to that one, definitely. I'm also probably going to check out The Mummy as well, but I just need to make sure they're both hitting my theater. But if they are, then I'm seeing them. But yeah, that's it for our On the Horizon segment. And now we're going to move on to On Beat. On Beat. This week, as I said, our On Beat section's a bit loaded. Usually we have no news stories and just a few trailers or something. This time we've got 3 trailers, but we've got 4 news stories. So we're going to kick things off with the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which is pulling in some impressive numbers. It made $190.8 million domestic in its first 5-day weekend. It came out on Wednesday, April 1st. So from Wednesday to Sunday, it made $190.8 million. It's currently at $222.4 million domestic. We record this on Wednesday, so the Wednesday after. So it's been out for a full week for us, and it's at $22.4 million domestic and $429 million global. It made $34.5 million domestic on its opening day, and that's on a Wednesday. That's not even a Friday. So that's big numbers. This puts it as second place behind the original movie, the original Super Mario animated movie, for both opening of a video game adaptation and for Illumination's entire catalog. Like, Illumination's top 2 movies are opening movies are Super Mario and Super Mario Galaxy. It is also the biggest opening of 2026 so far. It could be, at the end of the year, the biggest opening total, but we do have some big heavy hitters coming this year as well, including an Avengers movie. So I don't think it's going to hold that title by the end of the year.
I'm just going to say, given all that, I think the takeaway is that the first movie was not a fluke, and that these movies are incredibly popular. Yeah, it's people love these movies, and they're probably going to continue to be successful for as long as they make them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the takeaway from these numbers, really. It's like...
The last 2 stats to bring up is it's the 5th biggest opening for an animated movie ever, and it is the first animated franchise with 2 movies opening at over $350 million global. Mm-hmm. So, big deal. Big franchise, of course.
Oh, yeah, huge franchise.
Our next news story is that the showrunners of Beef and the Bear, Beef is run by Lee Sung-jin, and the Bear is run by Joanna Kahlo, are writing the script for the new X-Men movie that's currently being developed. That movie is going to be helmed by Thunderbolts director Jake Schreier. Kahlo, who is the showrunner for the Bear, also worked as a writer on the Thunderbolts movie. And the director, Jake Schreier, he directed episodes of Beef, which is Lee Sung-jin's show. So he has like a connection to both of these writers that are working on it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. He's directing X-Men, so he brought on some people like he's worked with and he knows to rewrite the script. That's not surprising. I will say, though, that these are incredibly talented people. Thunderbolts is one of the best recent Marvel movies. It was better than, like, both of the other Marvel movies that came out last year.
Thunderbolts is Phase 5, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I stopped keeping track of phases.
Yeah, it's hard because it was easier when there were Avengers movies, because it was just, you just figure the Avenger movie is the end of the phase kind of thing.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But that wasn't always true, because, like,
they split it.
End of Phase 3 was a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, they ended in weird spots. So and also, like, the phases have, like, no clear clear direction anymore.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, oh, we're doing the Infinity Saga. Great. And then we're doing this. And now it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's random.
Well, it's phase 4 and 5 are the multiverse saga. And it's like, shouldn't it just be one giant phase 4?
Yeah. Well, they say multiverse saga, but there's been like barely any multiverse.
Yeah.
But whatever. I mean, I'm not going to go on a rant about that, but I will say, like, Thunderbolts was the best Marvel movie last year.
It's the best of phase 5 so far.
And it was
which I think is just the movies that came out last year.
And so for me, this is good news for X-Men, because if we got that creative team on there, then I think it's in good hands, especially because X-Men is an ensemble, but so is Thunderbolts, and the way, like, they were able to handle that cast, give everybody, like, their moment, give everybody depth and stuff. I think that's gonna, like, really work with X-Men.
Thunderbolts is also kind of like a lovable rogues story, and X-Men is like an underdog, kind of like a discriminated class story, so they kind of go, they're not exactly the same, but they go kind of hand in hand.
Right. Yeah, looking forward to that.
I mentioned this to you before the podcast. I also think it's a good idea that you have two showrunners involved in writing a script for any Marvel movie. I think it's a good idea to have showrunners involved because, like I said, I think of the entire MCU is like a giant TV show. Yeah. Basically, with like the movies being episodes of that TV show and the other series being groups of episodes of that TV show, So with the whole entire MCU being kind of like a big TV show, I think some of the movies that don't hit as well are the ones that like don't have a good idea of the bigger picture. And if you're a showrunner, then that's like your whole game is like keeping track of the bigger picture. So I think that it means that they're going to have a better idea of like, okay, well, we need to be able to establish what we need to establish in this movie, but we also need to make it work towards the better picture correctly rather than just like, oh, there's a teaser at the end or something. They need to actually properly develop these connections and stuff. So I think that's a really good idea as well.
For sure.
But yeah, so that's good news. Peter Dinklage is going to be joining the cast of Alien Earth for its second season, currently an unspecified role. We have no idea who it is. My guess is he's going to be the head of like one of the other major corporations.
I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't care what his role is. Here's the thing. Peter Dinklage is cool. I like Peter Dinklage. It's cool that he's being cast, but I don't know like if I'm in for a second season of Alien Earth. I was not really sold on the show like by the end of the first season, just because it was kind of like, oh, this is Westworld. This is like about synths rising up against humanity with guest starring the xenomorphs. Yeah. Versus like being a show about the xenomorphs. Yeah. Yeah.
That's definitely what it is. It's not even like your interpretation or that you feel that it's like, this is the intent.
Yes, this is the intent. Clearly the intent.
Yeah, yeah. I think that I listened to an interview with Noah Hawley, and I think when he was talking about it, the way he didn't say this directly, but the way he was talking about it, he seemed to imply that like when he takes a project, he likes to look at the areas that are kind of undeveloped in that. So like when he got involved in the alien thing, he said, they don't really do enough with the synths. Right. They don't, that's a fascinating part of the lore, and it's not really all that well developed. And so that's kind of where he came in, like as his focus,
Right, yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting though. Like I said, I think he's going to end up being the head of one of the other major corporations. We know Weyland Yutani is being run by, we met the person who's running Weyland Yutani last season. We obviously have the Genius Company, and who's running that is like one of the main characters in the whole series. So I think Peter Dinklage is going to come in as another like major player.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, next up, we got our last news story before we go into our trailers, and that is that this is kind of a three-piece story. Ironically, it's all centered around One Piece.
Ironically, I will say also, like, there's not really anything surprising here. There's nothing unexpected. The second piece is a little bit new, but, like, everything else is kind of, like, a known quantity.
Yeah, it's just kind of confirmation more than anything. So, first up, One Piece Season 3 3 is being titled The Battle of Alabasta. It is coming in 2027. We knew that they were filming this last year, that they started filming.
We knew they were filming this, and we knew that the next season 3 was going to focus on the Alabasta arc, just because that's where things are going.
That's the big arc.
They pick up Princess Vivi in this season, in season 2, and they talk about, like, Alabasta, like, a lot, you know?
And they introduce Crocodile at the end.
They introduce Crocodile at the end, so it's like, yeah, duh, of course they're doing Alabasta. It's interesting, titling season 3, The Battle of Alabasta, suggests that the entire season is going to be Alabasta, which makes sense, because that's a big arc.
Yeah. They definitely, it's going to be the entire focus of the season.
Yeah, so they're not going to do what they did in season 2, where they're, like, jumping around to, like, different, smaller arcs, you know?
Yeah. The second piece of news related to One Piece is they announced a 2-part LEGO special titled LEGO One Piece Captain Usopp the Brave and the Straw Hats. It's going to recap the events of the first 2 seasons, but it's animated. It's in the LEGO style. It's coming this September. And like I said, it's a 2-part special.
I wonder if that means we're going to get, like, LEGO One Piece sets.
we already are. There's already are some LEGO.
Oh, there already are? Okay. Well,
yeah.
I don't keep up with that stuff.
So there's going to be more, I'm sure. But I think what's interesting here is that, you know, if you've watched One Piece, then you know, like, Usopp's like the storyteller of the group. He comes in and he brags about himself and takes credit for everybody else's accomplishments and stuff. So basically, what it looks like is we're going to be getting a Lego-fied version. And this is based on the live-action One Piece, specifically. Not the anime One Piece. You can tell just because the Lego Usopp has a short nose. Like, you know, it doesn't have like a long, like, Pinocchio nose.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Usopp's like a storyteller. He makes up stories. He brags about things. He exaggerates things that happen. He takes credit from what everybody else did. Like, he's like, there I was, alone, even though he was like the one cowering while his colleagues did everything. It's going to be like his telling of the One Piece saga so far. So I think that's kind of cool. I think that's what makes it, like, interesting to me. Is
that's
like,
a fun idea.
Yeah, as we get to see this kind of, like, warped version of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
They also announced, and this isn't really new information, I just figured it was part of it.
They really announced this. This was already announced.
Well, they had a trailer that showed off, like, some new artwork and stuff. That's pretty much it.
This is, like, more like an affirmation that this is, like, still coming.
Yeah.
And also, like, confirmation that it's going to be on Netflix when it debuts here.
Yeah. So this is for the One Piece anime reboot titled The One Piece. It's going to kind of it's like starting from the very beginning of the series. It's probably going to go. I'm imagining it's going to go much faster than the live action series.
It's designed to be like a more condensed,
you
know, more focused retelling of the One Piece saga.
The problem with One Piece, the One Piece anime, besides the fact that it's dated, like the old episodes of One Piece are like over 25 years old.
And that's like another goal of this is to have a version of One Piece with more modern animation.
Yeah, it just looks like, better and
Yeah, exactly.
But the old One Piece is like One Piece anime debuted, I think, in like 1999, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that's like 27 years, basically.
Crazy to think.
Yeah, like, it's still running, so the newer episodes look good and stuff, but the old episodes look like something from 1999, you know? Not only that, but because it's been running so long, and because the anime, until just recently, I mentioned last week on the podcast in our On the Horizon segment that the new season of One Piece was coming, and this is the first time that One Piece was becoming seasonal as an anime. Because it had basically run straight through 52 weeks a year with very few breaks, and the breaks would only be like a month, like a couple weeks to a month tops. And it would just run every single week. And what happened is it caught up to the manga, to the source material. And so they would have to create filler arcs, which nobody really likes. But even when they weren't doing filler arcs, like, they would have to, like, just spread out the pacing. Naturally, I think the ratio typically is like 2.5 to 3 chapters of a manga to like a half-hour episode of an anime. That's usually how it is for like most anime shows, you know, and adaptations of manga. That's usually like the ideal pacing is about that. But at a certain point, it got so caught up to the manga, the anime, that it was like 1-to-1. And that's like really slow. So you're like a half hour that should be, maybe like 10 minutes or something, but you're getting it spread out over a half hour. You also have those big filler arcs that started taking more and more frequent breaks because it was just so desperately ahead that it just had to start taking more breaks and stuff. And until they eventually decided to go seasonal with it instead, where it goes off air for a while and comes back for an arc, which is what it's doing now. But as a result of that, the anime is so slow that there is literally like a pirated version of it called One Piece. That's like more popular than the regular show with a lot of people because it took the anime, like the regular anime, and just cut out all the bullshit.
Yeah.
And trimmed it down so that it goes much, much, much faster. And you can shave like hours and hours and hours, hundreds of hours off of your watching time by watching One Piece instead of One Piece. And this kind of, the main reason for this anime, I think, is that it's solving that issue. It's gonna look newer, it's gonna look more modern, but it's also going to just pace much better.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like, people don't know, like, a lot of anime is based off of manga. A lot of popular manga get anime adaptations. And the thing with that is the anime usually contains a lot of filler because they're following the story from the manga, but the manga chapters typically come out slower than their ability to produce new episodes, and they got like a schedule that they have to be.
So like Shonen Jump, they both come out weekly. So the anime comes out weekly and the manga comes out weekly, but the manga is like I said, it should be about 3 chapters.
Well, they take hiatuses, right? The manga, they do take
not really.
Like Hunter x Hunter is Shonen Jump.
Oh, well, Hunter does that a lot, but that's because
the author
multiple
hiatuses. Yeah,
that's because the mangaka has like serious back issues, and he has to take hiatuses. But
like, one of the things, like, Dragon Ball Z is infamous for this.
Yeah.
Where like, they have to have material to catch up, and so Dragon Ball Z will have, like, entire episodes where, like, literally nothing happens.
Yeah.
And aside from that, they will also have, like, entire, like, arcs that are original to the anime and
they feel like fan fiction, like, cause they don't matter, they don't tie into anything, and they oftentimes don't feel like
the Garlic Jr. arc is an example of that only exists in Dragon Ball Z anime.
Yeah, but the issue isn't that the manga comes out slower, they come out about the same. It's that the pacing should be about 3 chapters to an episode.
Right.
So even if they're coming out at the every single week without a break for either one, the anime will catch up because it's doing like 3 chapters worth of material for one episode, where obviously a manga chapter is 1 chapter's worth of material for 1 chapter.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So that's how it happens. So that it happens with really long running series that don't separate them into arcs. If they separate them into arcs, a lot of times they'll go like, okay, we'll run the first arc and then the show will be off the air until the next arc's running. And then we'll do the next arc or something. Long running shonen mangas, especially like One Piece, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, stuff like that, just runs like nonstop, like every week without hiatus.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that it'll inevitably catch up. If the manga runs long enough, then anime will eventually catch up to it, and then you end up with this problem.
Right.
So this is going to be a nice solution for this. For you, as a new One Piece fan who only watches the live action stuff, are you going to hop on board with the Wit series?
I'm going to hop on board with the Wit series. I am.
Okay, that's good. I'm excited for that. Maybe we can talk about a few of it sometimes.
Yeah, you know what? That sounds like it might be good.
Yeah. Okay. So that is it for our regular news, and now we're going to move on to trailers. We've got 3 trailers this week. I'm going to start things off with Widow's Bay, which is a kind of a quirky little horror film.
Yeah, it's a series, actually.
Is it a series?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, it's a series, and interesting because it's a horror comedy, is what it's described as. And it's funny because this trailer doesn't really sell it as a comedy until, like, the last bit where the guy is like, oh, there's rumors there are cannibals, but I don't buy it. And then the big newspaper clipping of, like, cannibalism is like, yeah, well, I think that's a bunch of crap. So it's interesting. So I read more about this. So apparently the show is a horror comedy about this guy who, like, runs this inn on Widow's Bay, which is like an island town. which is the island is said to be cursed. He's not from there. He moved there recently, and he's running like this inn, and the locals don't like him. Like nobody likes him.
It's a typical like creepy small town where everybody gives you dirty looks.
It gives him dirty looks. Like, oh yeah, like he's the outsider trying to fit in, and there's like all these like rumors of a curse and supernatural things happening, and he's just like dismissive of all of it. Like he doesn't believe in any of it, but the locals do, and like that's one of the point of contentions, like why they hate him. It's just because and then like apparently like something happens, a bunch of supernatural crap starts happening around him to the point, like, so it's interesting. It's an interesting setup.
This also has two actors that I'm very fond of in it. Matthew Rhys is playing the mayor of the town.
Yeah.
He's the guy that says like, oh, that cannibal stuff's a bunch of crap or something in the trailer. That's him. That's Matthew Rhys.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He's a great Welsh actor. I really like him. He's stuff like The Americans. He was in Cocaine Bear, if you've seen that.
Yeah, Matthew Rhys. Yeah, he's the protagonist. Yeah, that's right. He's the mayor.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, he's not right yet. Okay. No, I had my writer's crossed. Yeah, he's the mayor of the town. He's the guy who's the skeptic that nobody likes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
And then Stephen Root is in this as well.
Yeah.
Every time Stephen Root shows up, I'm happy.
Stephen Root is a national treasure. He's like one of my favorite like character actors.
Mm-hmm.
He is so good at everything, and he's been in a lot of stuff. He's a prolific character actor.
Yeah, he's one of the all-time best character actors.
So yeah, this show sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. Then we got a trailer for Lord of the Flies. This is, of course, like a very famous book. It's been adapted previously on multiple occasions. This is a series adaptation, not a movie. And this is being done by the writer of Adolescence, which was one of the best shows. I believe that was last year on Netflix. One of the best shows of the year last year.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Won some of our awards and stuff. And it's like, if you pick a property that's like, okay, you have the guy who wrote Adolescence, what would be the perfect thing for him to adapt? Lord of the Flies is like just screaming, me!
A story full of troubled adolescents, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like toxic boys. Yeah, I'm your cup of tea.
I don't think like Lord of the Flies needs like a introduction here.
Everybody knows what Lord of the Flies
famous,
is.
well-done story. Yeah,
the important thing is that it's the guy who did Adolescence that is doing this. Yeah. If you have not seen Adolescence,
and the trailer,
only 4 episodes long. It's on Netflix. It is amazing,
and the trailer looks fantastic. It looks, it
looks so good. Everything about it looks good to me, so I'm excited for that. And then we got a trailer for Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed, starring Tatiana Maslany from Orphan Black and She-Hulk.
This looks interesting. I can't like put my finger like on what it's supposed to be or what's supposed to be doing. If this is like supposed to be a comedy or a thriller, or it's very interesting.
Those where you just start asking all the genres and then the person responds yes.
Yes, right. Yeah, exactly. Because it looks like Tatiana Maslany plays a woman who is unsatisfied with her life. I guess she like tries fooling around on the internet, and that leads to like somebody like stalking her, or she's in a situation where she's kidnapped and there's like she's hiding from like a killer at one point in the trailer, and so it's like, oh, that's interesting.
So I have an overview here from Google. The description of the series it says newly divorced mom Paula falls down a rabbit hole of blackmail, murder, and youth stalker, convinced she witnessed a crime while struggling through a custody battle and an identity crisis. Paula begins her own investigation.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting.
It's like a dissatisfied divorced mom dealing with all the pressures and stress of that, and then she like gets wrapped up into like a murder plot.
Yeah, she gets wrapped up in investigating a murder plot.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks good. It looks like well produced, well made, good cast, everything. It looks strong.
Yeah, looks strong to me. Yeah. And it's interesting to say both Widow's Bay and Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed are Apple TV Plus shows. Like I tell you, Apple TV Plus is proving to be like one of the best streaming services on the internet.
They're like the new home of high concept stuff. Like that title kind of moves around. It used to be HBO, and HBO still has a lot of it, but they're kind of getting more into franchises now and stuff. Then it was AMC. Remember AMC's early days? You had like Mad Men, Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, like, just groundbreaking shows, And now I think it's Apple TV.
Now it's Apple TV because it seems like Apple is willing to invest in more original, non-franchise programming.
Yeah, and like big swings too, you know?
Real
alternate
real
history
big swings.
stories like For All Mankind and weird ass sci-fi plots like Pluribus, you know? It's like they just go for it.
Yeah, they just go for it. Yeah. It seems to be working for it. That, to me, like, that makes Apple TV Plus like one of the most exciting streaming services to come along in years.
Yeah, as much as it pains me to admit it, I have to admit it.
Yeah.
As an Apple hater, I have to admit that Apple TV Plus is kind of the place to be right now.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But that is it for our trailers and it for our On Beat segment, and that leaves only our final segment, full spoilers. This week on Full Spoilers, as I mentioned, we are doing the Baba Yaga follow-up. That means we are discussing 2 sequels to movies we have previously discussed in our Baba Yaga Effect episodes. We're going to start things off with Nobody 2, this time directed by Tomodachi. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
I'm taking your word on that.
He's an Indonesian director. I've seen his stuff before, and I think he was somehow involved with the Raid movies, but he didn't direct them. So he's kind of comes from that world, that like Indonesian like action world that's kind of popped up. And he ended up taking over as director for the second movie. He didn't direct the first one. So we watched Nobody. It's about an old man. He has this really humdrum life. He is dealing with that, obviously stressed out, like there's something kind of itching beneath the
old
surface.
Man, he's in his like 50s. He ain't that old.
Yeah, well, he comes across tired and old. And down and he's like, he's dealing with his shit. There seems to be something bubbling beneath the surface of his skin. Like he's like, there's something else there. And then through an encounter, we find out that he's like basically a John Wick type. He's a guy with a mysterious past, somebody that you do not want to be on the wrong side of.
A special set of skills.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A special set of skills who has been living this family life and being quiet and letting people basically walk all over him for the longest time, and finally gets pushed to the point where he needs to retaliate. Yeah. And that just sets basically the crime world on fire that he's in.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is the sequel to that, which starts off with
any of that.
After the events of the first movie, he has this massive amount of debt that he owes because he burned all this money. And so this broker has paid off his debt, but now he owes this broker. So he's just basically doing jobs for the broker. His family now knows who he is, but they're still kind of living the suburban life. But now they're dissatisfied in a different way. Whereas before it was because he was kind of being such like a wimp kind of, you know, even though he wasn't, but he was being one, you know, by trying to fit into the suburban life.
They're dissatisfied because he's always doing these jobs.
Gone,
yeah. He's not there for his family, so he's missing out like on a lot of events. He's just not present in their lives. So he decides it's taking its toll.
So he decides he's going to take him on a family vacation. He shows him like a VHS video of like this very old looking, like not great looking, like water park, theme park thing.
It's like this like real mid looking theme park that you would like, see in the Midwest.
And it's like a videotape from like the early 80s or 70s or something.
And it's like the only reason he wants to go there is because that's the place like his father took him and his brother when they were kids.
The one vacation they ever had.
He said, the one vacation they ever went on. He said, like, it's not one of the places I've been. It's the only place I went to vacation. It has a special significance to him for that reason.
So and he wants to share that with his family.
So it's like, so it's like this isn't just some random thing that he would have picked. And I mean, if it was like some random thing, like, I'd be like, that's a pretty crappy place to like just randomly pick. But
you never heard of Disneyland, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. But no, like, it has significance to him, so it makes sense.
It plays in, it's funny because he ends up getting into a big mess with like a crime syndicate that's in town, and it's like, oh, he ran into another crime syndicate? Like that's a little convenient, but it's like, no, his brother ends up revealing like later in the movie.
The only reason his father took them there was because his father was on business there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he thought it was like the one vacation they had, but it was actually, no, it was still business for his dad. It just happened to be at a vacation spot.
Because that town just happened to be like a front for, a drug operation, run by like this like vicious woman played by Sharon Stone, Ladina.
I gotta ask you, like, right up front, what did you think of that? Because I've heard a lot of mixed things about her portrayal. Some people think it's just too far out there.
Yeah, it was like an over-the-top goofy portrayal, but like it works for the movie. That's the kind of movie this is. I'm like, yeah, but that's the movie.
The movie, you can't take, even the first movie, you couldn't take it too seriously, and she seems to be having like just an unbridled amount of fun.
Oh, Sharon Stone seems to be like loving the fact that she can be totally campy and she could like chew all the scenery. She's like reveling in that.
Yeah. So I think I enjoyed it for that. Like it was like, okay, it's a bit over the top, but it's also like, it works for this movie specifically. And it also like, it's nice to know that it seemed like everybody was having a great time making the movie,
Right. Yeah, like people gotta realize like these are the nobody films. These are like action comedies. These aren't like supposed to be like hard-boiled thrillers or anything.
Yeah, this isn't literally hard-boiled. This isn't the John Woo film hard-boiled,
Yeah, we're not doing The Departed here.
So we got Hutch, that's Bob Odenkirk's character's family, his whole family.
I was surprised to see Colin Hanks in this. I didn't know he was going to be in this.
Kind of different role for him, too.
Yeah.
It's like a real dickbag.
It's like, this real dickbag, evil sheriff character. It's funny, too, because, like, we find out, like, the guy running the town is the son of the guy from the video in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And, like, he inherited, like, this drug running business and he wants out.
Yeah.
But Ladina won't let him out.
And she's, like, comically evil. There's nothing that will sway her. She doesn't give a fuck. She would rather burn down the whole operation than let somebody go.
Oh, yeah. So it's funny because, like, he's introduced early on as, like, the villain for this, but then we find out that he's not really the villain. Ladina is the villain, and he ends up teaming up with Hutch at the end of, like, the movie to take her out.
Hutch saves his son. It's kind of a cool scene because he kind of makes this dramatic exit. Like, he basically, like, squares things with, like, the bad people, like, saying, stay off my back. We're done here. He shows himself to be a credible threat, and then he says, like, do I have your agreement? Are we done? And they're like, yes. He takes off.
He sees the kidnapped son.
Right as he's leaving, yeah.
Right as he's leaving, he sees him, and then he seems to, like, just ignore him and just, like, leave, and then he goes back and he saves him.
Yeah.
He burns everything down. I think in that scene, like, he's doing it against his better judgment, because, like, he got, like, what he wanted, supposedly, but just like, damn. And he goes back and he does the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't tolerate this. I need to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So he saves the son. That leads to a big, huge battle at a water park. Like, the first movie ended with a big battle in like a factory.
It's the battle in the park now, in this big, like, amusement park / water park. And so it's interesting because like the owner like has like the whole place like booby trapped, and so we get to see them. They're deliberately like leading all Ladina's soldiers into like these booby traps.
Yeah, putting them leading them into explosives, having them go down a water slide, and then having like spikes come up through the water slide to kill them.
Yeah.
Crazy kills, like fun kills.
A ball pit with like landmines hidden in it.
Yeah. Crazy shit. And it's like, it just becomes like a lot of fun. Meanwhile, of course, RZA's back as his brother Harry.
Yep.
And he's protecting the youngins in the family who are staying in the cabin. And RZA this is just like, RZA probably signed on and they said, well, you want to go for a sequel? He's all, can I fight with a katana?
Yeah. They're like, sure.
Said, okay.
He gets like this really cool like katana fight against like, one of Ladina's top lieutenants.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the guy's name. But like,
it doesn't really matter. He's just like hench number one.
Yeah, he's just like the top henchman. He's just there to have a cool sword fight with RZA and die horribly.
Yeah.
It's cool because like they do the anime thing where like RZA runs him through with the knife, and then there's a pause and he drops to his knees, and then his head falls in half.
Yeah, cut in half at the mouth, which is badass.
Yeah. That's like a total anime thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why decapitate when you can cut at the mouth in half?
Yeah, when you can cut in half at the mouth, yeah.
It's kind of a Spartacus thing. Like, that's the kind of shit we'd get in Spartacus.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, somebody get their head cut in half like that, you know? I remember the one kill in Spartacus that still I remember to this day from the original series where a guy got his head sliced in half, like, vertically from the side. And so, like, his face slid off and then his brain fell out. It feels like that. Like, it feels very much much like a Spartacus kill, you know?
And
but it is very anime coded too, with the katanas and stuff, yeah.
And apparently, by the end of the film, that was enough to bring the family closer and, like, solve their family issues. So you get a happy ending with that, but no, like, I thought it was, like, a lot of fun. I thought the first movie was fun. I would rank this to be about equal to the first movie. I didn't see anything in here.
I think from a fun perspective, it's about equal. I think the first movie's probably better, like, structured as a movie.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Like, I didn't see,
but it doesn't matter, because you just go in for the fun time anyways.
Yeah, I didn't see, like, anything about this movie that was, like, markedly worse than the first one.
It's very much the same.
But, like, yeah, but there wasn't, like, anything that, like, elevated it or, like, made it better than the first one either. So I'd say it's about the same.
It's almost a copy with, like, a theme swap.
Yes.
Because, like, even, like, Sharon Stone has, like, this very eccentric villain that, like, has this huge dance number scene in the middle of the movie and stuff.
Yes.
There was, like, a scene in the first movie where the villain, like, was, like, doing, like, karaoke or something and had, like, this really long karaoke scene that was also kind of unhinged and wacky, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It does kind of feel like a palette swap of the same movie, you know?
Yeah, it does. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Which is fine, because it's like, you don't go into it for, like, the deep lore and stuff. You'd go into it just to have a fun time, you know? And it delivers.
Yeah, these are, like, more straightforward action movies. These movies aren't as, like, lore heavy as, like, the John Wick movies.
Yeah, like, there is some, but it's very ancillary. It's very, like, you know, in the background.
Where, like, John Wick has, like, become, like, entirely, like, about its own mythology.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, there's so much mythology in John Wick now. And this is just like, no, we're just gonna take some of the kind of ideas that there's, like, these criminal syndicates that are bigger than life, and, you know, and we're just gonna kind of have that in the background, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we're gonna have that in the background. And the movies are basically about how this guy just keeps, like, stumbling into them.
Yeah, keeps getting into trouble, yeah.
Yeah. Cool movie, though.
And then lastly, we've got the sequel to Sisu. Sisu, Road to Revenge. The first movie was a silent protagonist murdering a bunch of Nazis. Well, how do you beat that? Well, you gotta get a little more personal. So it goes into his backstory, and it pairs him up against a villain played by Stephen Lang from the Avatar movies. And yeah, it's like, okay,
and
well,
like,
now we got the
Lang's,
Russians.
Yep, now we got the Russians as villains, cause Sisu 2 takes place after the end of World War II, and because it's in Finnish, and they're in Finland, you know, after World War II, the Soviet Union claimed part of Finland as Soviet territory and put up border, you know.
So Tommy, who is the lead of the movie, his name is not Sisu.
and because of this, like, a lot of Finns got displaced.
Yeah.
You know?
And so what this movie is really about is about, like, if you condense it to, like, a log line and just ignore the action and everything else and just go, like, what is the theme of this movie? It is about people being displaced because, you know, Russia took over a big chunk of Finland, and the main character, whose name is Atami, not Sisu. Sisu is like a word in Finnish.
Yeah, Sisu is like a word, yeah. Then they explain what the word means at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Do this for both movies.
Yeah. So Atami is displaced as well. He goes back to his old home and he just disassembles it, and he's going to take it over the border to the part of Finland that's still controlled by Finland and reconstruct his house there.
It starts very much the same as the first movie, where
it's a road trip for moving your house. That's what it is.
He's got this valuable item that he's simply just trying to get from point A to point B, and people just won't freaking let him.
Yeah.
You know?
In the first movie, it's because they wanted the valuable item, and in this movie, they're intentionally going after him.
They're intentionally going after him. The Soviet army wants him because, like, as we learned in the first movie, he was a soldier in the Finnish army. And
this legendary figure in the war, yeah.
Yeah, in the war. And he killed a lot of Soviets during the war, to the point where, like, they call him a legend, but now the Soviet commander is looking for revenge, and so they free this character, Yegor, played by Stephen Lang, who is personally responsible for killing Atami's family.
Mm-hmm. Which is what made him such, like, a hard person that kind of gave him his backstory. It's like he was just a soldier, his family was killed, and that's what made him become this, like, legendary guy when he just became utterly ruthless and like a nightmare to the Russians and stuff.
Right, yeah. It incited, like, a rage inside of him.
It incited the Sisu inside of him.
Inside the Sisu, yeah. And so now they got this guy going after him, and so it really becomes it's right in the title. It's a movie about revenge, you know? And so, like, it's really interesting, like, how he's fighting these guys and evading all these attempts on his life while still managing to, like, keep all the logs of his house.
Yeah. It gets a bit more comical than the first movie, I think, in that regard, you know?
There's definitely, like, a lot of unrealistic stunts that he pulls off, you know, that, like, defy physics and logic.
Yeah, in the first movie, that happened too, but it kind of took a while to get to that point.
Yes.
Like, it started out like, oh, okay, he's like a movie badass, and it's not really realistic, but it's realistic from the sense of an action movie. And then, by the end, it was like he was surviving plane crashes and stuff. It was like, okay, this is getting a little bit ridiculous, but it's like still fun and like over the top. And this one just kind of goes like, okay, well, that's our baseline now.
Now, that's our baseline now, yeah.
So they could just go for broke right from there, you know? And yeah, it's basically like Nobody and Nobody 2. It's basically the same movie.
Yes.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with this. This is more of like this guy being a badass. And Stephen Lang is like a really good villain. He's like a really good, hateable villain.
It's a good choice to bring in somebody who's notable.
Yes.
Because Sisu, I mean, the actor who plays Sisu, he's like a Finnish actor. We'd never heard of him before the first Sisu movie, you know?
No.
But after seeing the first Sisu movie, you kind of have these expectations of him and stuff. You need somebody that's going to be able to go up against him that already has like an established kind of grizzled, tough old guy demeanor. And so you need to cast an actor who's already kind of played those kind of roles. I think that's kind of like the smartest thing. I think if they had brought in like a no-name, like an actor that we've never heard of to play that character, I don't think it would have worked, even if he did a great job. I think Stephen Lang's baggage, like his past movies, play a role in him in this movie as like making him this credible, tough, grizzled old guy.
Oh, yeah.
We just accept it because of that.
And the final battle is like very satisfying too.
Yeah.
Because of it.
The train battle, yeah. All those, there's so many parts of it. It's like this long train battle thing with like divided into parts with the rocket and there's so much good shit in that.
Yeah. And how like ultimately like he ends up killing Yegor Stieveling's character with the rocket.
Yeah. Oh, that was great. I just love the shot of it like caving in his head before it exploded.
Yeah. I thought they were going to do something where they're just going to show the shot of like the rocket in his face and then cut into the explosion, Stephen Lang watching the explosion. But no, we get to see the rocket like literally like crush his skull before it explodes. So you get that extra satisfaction of knowing like he is 100% sure he got him.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah.
Even before the explosion, his skull was being caved in. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, it is a good movie. It is a white knuckle ride, just like the first one. The actor, Jorma.
Yeah, I think I put him, he won one of my awards, I think, for the best of 2025 for this movie.
The fact that he does this silently, that's incredible acting skill. And he has, you know, it's not just all like him being angry or anything. There's like genuinely like emotional moments. There's the moment at the
end of the movie.
Yeah, at the end of the movie where like these guys like show up and he thinks like they're there to like hurt him. Cause I mean, that's probably gotta be like his default at this point. But when they announce that they're there to help him rebuild his home, you can see his face, he's overcome with emotion.
Yeah. You know? And like the first Sisu movie, he had one line of dialogue at the very end of the movie where he just basically, I can't remember what he was asking. He finally got the gold to the bank and he said something about like, I'd make a deposit or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And that was his only line in the whole movie. This movie, no dialogue for the entire thing from him, you know? He's a complete silent protagonist, doesn't have a single line through the entire movie, but still manages to express so much, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Like, that guy has amazing acting chops, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's very difficult when you have to act entirely through facial expressions. You don't have the dialogue to back you up.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really cool performance. Like I said, I can't remember what, but I think I gave him one of my awards for maybe like best protagonist or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty much it for Sisu Road to Revenge, Sisu 2, and that's it for our podcast. So next week, we are going to be watching Mike and Nick and Alice, which is a time-traveling caper kind of comedy movie. It's available on Hulu. That's what we're going to be talking about next week, so stay tuned for that. Until then, you can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will on those platforms. He is at Voxel Hero. You can check out our website, thetotalscreen.blogspot.com. If you go to our website and open up a container story for any of our podcast episodes and scroll down to the bottom paragraph, you'll find links to our SoundCloud page, our RSS feed, all the goodies there. You can also subscribe to this podcast to your favorite podcast client of choice, like Apple Podcast or Pocket Cast, and the entire backlog of this podcast, as well as additional content, including the entire 300 episode run of our old podcast, is available on our YouTube channel, so you can check that out as well. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetotalscreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.